Can you trust your inner guidance? Should you follow your head or should you follow your heart? And how to even see this inner guidance when maybe you have tried to follow it, but especially when it comes to relationships, you listen to your heart, but you probably got involved in the most abusive relationship, or maybe it was just very, very painful. And now you are questioning this inner guidance. And many times I see in videos that people tell you this idea that when impulses and feelings are coming up, you feel this sudden warmth, this automatic sudden attachment. You should move away because this is your monkey mind, and your monkey mind is stupid, and you should be objective. And it generally comes from men, by the way, who give this idea that when you feel this sudden emotional shift, you should be very, very careful of this relationship. And I do tell you to not to go into it at all, because that's a warning sign that it's going to be very, very emotional in a negative way as well. Or some of them tell you that you should keep a distance and go into it really, really slowly, but kind of be halfway out of it, because that sudden impulse, sudden intensity is a warning sign that your stupid mind or your animalistic part becomes very, very active. And now you are this smart human being who should be very objective and is well beyond this animalistic self. And this is where the problem is, that people do not understand what the inner guidance is. This is the first problem. And second, they don't even understand this very mechanism within them, why they end up in painful situations when they listen to this inner guidance. And this is what I intend to do in this video, to get a different perspective around this topic. So the biggest problem is that people believe that this inner guidance is going to be like some very, very smart voice. They probably expect to, or the inner feeling, they just come across as, oh, I just listen to my intuition. And they really want to come across or imagine that this is like some superpower they have this magic thing, and they are so much better than other people because they just know it straight away. They don't have to think, they don't have to process. There is this magical something, and they are unique because they possess something like that. It's a little bit like the mutants in X-Men, that they can just do things that nobody else can. But in reality, we all have an inner guidance, and an inner guidance is actually our repressed parts from childhood, and they keep communicating to us in very, very different ways. And the different way is going to depend on when we have left that part behind. So if you left it behind at a very, very early age, it can come up as impulses, because that's the reptile part of the nervous system, and it couldn't go beyond. There are three parts. And when you left it behind, when you were in the mammalian part of the nervous system, it can come across more as feelings, these deep negative emotions probably, or maybe you want something very much. And when we get to this primate level, this is the third part, this is the cognition. This can be negative thoughts about yourself, or how you should behave, what you should do. So what that means is that you have an adult self, this is the ego, but you also have these repressed parts that are still waiting for you to get back, to re-examine them and have them to grow up. Because your delusion is that now you are an adult, so you are an adult. That's what you believe. But in reality, you can become a healed adult or a holistic adult when you are able to go back to these internal parts to integrate them. Because when you were growing up, you couldn't do that. It was impossible to accept them because you can only accept what's on the reptile level when you have the attachment system. But you had the reptile level first, you didn't have the attachment system. Then you had to move beyond, and you can connect different things, different feelings in the attachment system only when you have the primate level. But when you are in this attachment system, you don't have this upper part yet. This is the problem. And this is how this works, that you choose one path when you are a child all the way up to adulthood. And this is where the problem is that many people believe that now I am just who I am, accept me, I demand unconditional love, and that's it. But in reality, even when they have everything, they feel that something is missing, something is wrong. They don't feel 100% comfortable in their own bodies. Or we have another group of people who completely detach from everything, and they don't even feel their own misery, and they feel that everything is fine. They feel like, yeah, I'm happy. But they are still not holistic, because if they really were, they wouldn't feel miserable about the outside world, that everyone else is just, I don't know, negative around them. And the way you can actually really hear yourself and look back to these old parts is that you listen to this inner guidance. And this inner guidance has two parts. You have an internal inner guidance. These are these repressed parts within you, that the deeper you go, the more, the rawer they get, the more disgusting they get, because you have rejected them so long, such a long time ago. They will be very, very different from who you are now. So just imagine a version of you that existed when you were a 6-month baby or 1-year-old baby. And now you are in your 30s or 40s. Just imagine how much time passed. And you allow the other part to grow up to become an adult. So compared to that, this inner child self is very, very immature. And this is what you feel as impulses. You can feel as obsession, things you cannot stop doing, or maybe the opposite, that things that you cannot even look at. You feel such a disgust that you couldn't imagine that part to be within you. And these are the things that are your inner guidance. So the inner guidance is not about getting the lotto numbers or getting great tips. It only has the ability, this internal one, to take you back where you have finished that version of yourself. So it is going to take you back, and it's going to show you that, look, maybe now you can integrate it. Maybe now you can see it differently. And many times we end up making the exact same conclusion, what we are now. So we make a loop and remain exactly the same. And some people become even more of who they are already. And if you are able to see this inner guidance different, especially when you are in a relationship, because that's when we feel, I would say, the most let down, because you can get hurt emotionally the most when you open up to someone, when you give your heart to someone, and the person basically, you feel that stabs you in the back. And you are just like, I shouldn't listen to my heart. But when you see it in a different way, that you basically get taken back to that child self, but now as an adult, to see the exact same trauma, what happened to you, but now as an adult, that's when you can overcome this internal pain, this internal impulse. So maybe the lesson that your internal guidance tries to show you, it doesn't mean that that's the right person to stay together. It actually means that this is an unfinished business in you. This is something you couldn't process. And maybe it tries to show you that, look, you feel hurt, but that other person, because the person is going to be like the other parent figure, is unhealed, completely unaware, and it has to show you the same story, but now you see it as an adult so you can process it. And maybe this relationship that your true self took you won't help you to stay in a relationship happily ever after, but can help you to process a lot of childhood trauma. You embody that inner child again and you overcome it. So the relationship after that is going to be better because now you are going to see that relationship as a much healed person, a more emotionally mature person. And this is where the second part of the internal guidance that is more external is coming in. That we are all probabilities and it's like a probability blob, but your probabilities are going to strongly depend on what you still have to process. Because if you have still things to do, you have all of these repressed parts that are unresolved, there is no point in reality to get attached to other versions of you, to move forward in your journey if you couldn't even solve this part. So these two parts of you, the external and the internal inner guidance in a sense, work in synchronicity in a way that when you have released the trauma within, it can help you to take you forward, and it can help you actually to show you different types of trauma that are coming from other versions of you, from other lives, because the goal here is that all of these unresolved things that you had to choose, you always had to choose. You couldn't choose everything. You couldn't choose in the very beginning to be whole. You always had to pick. But now this internal part can sense this, and they try to make you relive it and try to connect to this external part that is your pattern recognition system. So basically you keep growing these individual parts up within you, and this is how you become wholer and wholer and wholer and wholer until you become wholeness yourself. I hope this video was helpful for you, and see you in my next video.